The only way you could get me to listen to Coldplay. Good morning. Rise in freedom. I am Austin Peterson. You are Matt Unruh, Caleb Vanderfeltz, Paul Southcott, Matt Unruh, again, Thor Mock, Barney Styles, and so many others hanging out. What's up, guys? It's Monday. I'm so sorry. Woke up at midnight last night and was like, Austin, it's Sunday, right? Another day to just relax? No, it's Monday, Austin. Thankfully, I was able to get back to sleep once I got past the horror. Click that like button. Today is Monday, July the 21st. You're tuned in to the Wake Up America show. It's the only morning show in America brave enough to say what you're thinking and funny enough to get away with it. Yes. Although that line wasn't really funny, so it doesn't make sense today with laughter. Cecilia, Y2 Joe, what's up, guys? He's in Philly right now. L Dubs. Looks like somebody's got a case of the Mondays. Broadcasting live from the beating heart of the Midwest, fueled by Jeffersonian Java and a serious distaste for communism. Oh yeah, it's perfect sleeping weather, Brad, but too bad. Get your butt up. It's time to work. Let's get it going. It's time for us to kick some ass. Cecilia starting the rants for Hazel's birthday week. Oh my God, did we have so much fun this weekend. I took her to the really nice pool in town. Brad will know, the Memorial Park, water park, you know, the private one, not the public one. And we had an absolute blast. Little baby Hazel took her out for the very first time. She's not walking yet, but she can walk if she's holding on to something. So she did the whole typical I'm a new baby in the world thing where she started out and she's really nervous and she's clinging on to me really hard. Then she starts to splash around. Then she sees like the fountains coming down and she's grabbing at it with her hand and coming back and laughing with me. And it's just like, I don't know, the cutest thing in the world. I love being a dad. It's beautiful. And I still love America despite the fact that people like Zoran Mamdani want to turn it into a communist hellhole. Thank you. Cecilia H. She donated $5. Brad started it too for $2 for Hazel. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Her birthday's on Wednesday. And the party's on Saturday or Sunday. I don't know. Ask Stephanie. But Brad should be there. So we hope to see many of you guys this weekend. Maybe we'll do a quick little live stream. So keep an eye on my socials this upcoming weekend because I'll probably do a little live chat just to give a shout out to the morning crew. We got a jam-packed show for you today. Last week, I worked my butt off so that this week would be amazing. I got so many freaking cool guests. And as usual, guess what? AP going out of pocket for you guys, bringing on new names and faces as well, people that you want to hear for, big names. Of course, we've got John Miltimore, Mondays with Miltimore. Here, let me set this all up for you, set the stage for you, because I'll then, tease out the second guest, because you've never had him on before. He is a big up-and-comer in the modern right-wing political scene. He's from Rasmussen Reports. We'll tease that out, and we'll get that to you guys here in just a little bit. So coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to be diving back into, I know we already covered this, but I think it deserves a second reading, especially because when my brother showed up this weekend off the Amtrak train, we picked him up in Jefferson City. He's like, oh, I couldn't wait to hear what you guys were saying about the viral Kiss Cam Coldplay story. I got to go back and listen to it. And I was just like, yes, you do. You listen to every single minute of Wake Up America show. JP, you're my brother. And brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug. The viral Coldplay Kiss Cam, I think, deserves a second look and a leading story just because it consumed the entire world. Everybody was talking about it. And now some people are having regret, not just the people who got caught, the CEO of Astronomer, which he's not an astronomer, is the company. There were so many great memes. We were all laughing, but some people said, ein Minuten bitte. Wait a moment, and let's re-examine this from the angle of, has the world gone too far in punishing the CEO? Should you lose your job for this? We're going to be talking about that this morning. Love, lust, lawsuits, and leftist hypocrisy all rolled into one Coldplay concert. There you go. Are there nice pools in Jefferson City? Yeah, we've got some nice pools in Jefferson City. Excited much, Austin? Yes, I'm very excited. I love my life. It's 5 days a week I'm doing the Wake Up America show. Friday nights we play video games together. One of my favorite things to do. We've got the whole For Liberty network, so 4 shows. Daniela went on Jubilee this weekend, by the way, or at least it premiered this weekend, and when she was in a debate with like 20 hardcore right wingers versus Mehdi Hassan. And I have some of those clips, and I haven't seen them yet, so we're going to do a live reaction to Daniela, the host of our For Liberty Network's Culturama, and we're going to live react to many of these videos, so it should be interesting to see how Daniela did versus Mehdi Hassan. We'll play that clip here pretty soon. Then get this, Coca-Cola is switching back to real sugar. And you're like, Austin, we already covered this. I know, but I think it deserves more discussion because everybody drinks this stuff. Even Big Soda has figured out that Americans are tired of high fructose corn syrup. The bad news is that if the United States is thinking about switching back to real cane sugar, which if it makes sense, I'm all for it. But the problem is that we are dangerously low on domestic sugar production, thanks to decades of subsidies and protectionist nonsense. So will your Coke cost as much as a Starbucks latte by Christmas? We'll explain why that sweet switch could sour real fast. So we're going to talk about Coca-Cola switching back to real sugar and some of the bigger picture philosophical and political questions involved in such. Austin, why could you turn everything political? Well, it's because, again, if you don't get involved in politics, the price is being ruled by your inferiors, and nobody wants to be ruled by idiots, do they? All right, and at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock this morning, we've got our returning guest, John Miltimore, one of the sharpest minds in media. Stephanie really likes John Miltimore, she says, because he's sweet and soft. Her husband's a little bit more prickly. John Miltimore from the American Institute for Economic Research. His new piece argues that Generation X, yes, the same people who brought you grunge rock and dial-up internet, might just be the key to saving the Trump campaign in 2024. He's joining us to explain why the so-called forgotten generation is polled stronger for Trump than Zoomers or Boomers. You don't want to miss John's take. Follow him at Miltimore79. Over on X. Then at 8:30 a.m. Central Time today, this is drum roll. Very excited to introduce you guys. We're going to be diving into the data with the numbers guy himself. Mark Mitchell is the head pollster at Rasmussen Reports, also known as Honest Pollster over on X. Is Trump losing support among independents and minorities? Why? Is it the Epstein backlash, the tariffs, the bombing of Iran, all of the above? Or is the Trump base just tired of Trump drama? I don't know. We'll have to ask him to break it all down. And he's the honest pollster. He's going to give us the cold, hard numbers. So let's recap. Today's show is the 7-layer bean dip of political talk. Coldplay, Kiss Cam Chaos, Coke ditches corn syrup, Gen X won 2024 for us, and Trump's support slipping. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic show for you today. And L-Dubs knows what up, says Mark is good at Rasmussen, so is Rich Barris from Big Data Poll. Exactly. See, L-Dubs? See, after the show Friday night when we were playing a little Warzone together, buddy boy, you know what I did? Got right back to work and booked Mark Rasmussen so that you could enjoy him on Monday morning. Because I'm always thinking about you, Luttrell. Thinking about you. Interesting question posed to the CEO of Astronomer, newly freshly stepped down CEO, newly freshly ran away with his head between his tail between his legs CEO, was asked this question on Bloomberg, or excuse me, New York Stock Exchange TV last month.
So to that end, what is next for Astronomer?
Who knows what the future holds for us? We think that we can be a big, meaningful company someday that adds tremendous amount of value to the market, and that's what our mission is right now.
Who knows what the future holds? Well. We all know now what the future held, but in case some were living under a rock for the last few days, here's what the future held for the now ex-CEO of Astronomer.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on.
You're okay? You're not okay.
Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Oh, and as always, guys, don't forget to get something from the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com. Thank you to Joni Rankin for the $10 donation. We're at we got like $18 raised towards the $75 bonus content goal. And there is bonus content today. If we hit $75 raised by the end of the show, you guys will get to watch the amazing little mini documentary that I have produced for you this morning. You can enjoy that once we hit $75, either made in Rumble Rants like Joni and Sweet Cecilia and Brad Beckman have done this morning in honor of Hazel's birthday. So once we hit $75 raised either there, or if you go to thegriftshop.com and you can stick it to the regime with a tea from drinking a For Liberty from the For Liberty shop. And of course, why not get yourself one of our mugs? If you enjoy our coffee, we put all of our beautiful designs for our coffees onto coffee mugs. So if you're a big fan of, for example, my number one favorite, Thomas's Painkiller, you can get the associated mug with that, and it helps support the show. And of course, things like that go to little Pampers onto Hazel's little booty. All right, so let's kick things off with a story that's so absurd it feels like something ripped out of Succession, The Office, and a rejected episode of The Bachelor all rolled up into one. Only this happened in real life at a Coldplay concert. Yeah, a Coldplay concert. That's your first warning sign. So here's what went down. Andy Byron, he's the now former CEO of a tech startup called Astronomer, got caught canoodling on the kiss cam with his company's chief of HR, a woman by the name of Kristen Cabot. And the video, of course, goes mega viral because they're both married to other people. Whoopsie. Within days of this, Byron resigns. Cabot disappears from LinkedIn. Twitter sleuths track down everything about their personal lives, including the fact that Cabot is married into one of the wealthiest and most elite families in Boston, as in old money Cabot, C-A-B-O-T. This is the family that's so exclusive that Boston legend says that the Lowells only talk to the Cabots, and the Cabots only talk to God. Well, now apparently they also talk to HR. No! You ever get called in HR? You blew it! Thank you, Brad. Gosh darn it, don't we have so much fun on this show in the morning, guys? Don't we have an absolute blast? Then why haven't you clicked the like button? You like hanging out here so much. It's cost of admission, for goodness sake. And this, of course, this wasn't just any HR executive, right? This was the chief people officer, right? The person who's tasked with enforcing the rules about office relationships. I mean, the irony is so thick you could pour it over pancakes. But wait, there's more. The entire internet hands in, we all join hands. I was part of this, right? In one massive digital stoning. Cabbage and stones. I mean, they were dead before the morning cock crowed. You will betray me 3 times. Who said it? They memed the video, remixed it, made fake apologies go viral. Frankly, I'm a little disappointed in Brad that he didn't take a picture from the video and create some little AI promo for thegriftshop.com. Come on, Brad. You had that perfect opportunity. So they memed the video, remade it. They made fake apologies going viral. All kinds of fakeness came out of it. Everybody was making fake videos. It was hilarious. One t-shirt that was on Etsy read, "I took my side piece to a Coldplay concert, and all I got was fired and national shame." Who's going to wear that shirt? My question is, who's going to wear it? I think that's the kind of shirt that will get a lot of publicity, but nobody will actually buy it. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, says some NASCAR crew chief somewhere. Yes, thank you. Jesus said that, John and Casey. You darn right, Jesus said it. Almighty fortress is our God. I know the whole Methodist hymn book. Now, Chris Martin, he's Coldplay's front man, even riffed on stage when the Jumbotron hit them. Either they're having an affair or they're just shy, very shy. Can you imagine getting roasted by Coldplay? Ooh, a new low. Now, Amy J.E., she's already on the counter side of this one. She's contra, as we like to say. And she's saying, I don't like this story. None of our business. I don't like public executions. You are not alone in feeling that way. So I guess here's the big question for everybody now. Was the backlash justified? Or have we become monsters who feed off of other people's destruction? You have to understand the world that we are living in right now. And when I read articles about Zoomers, sometimes I feel really bad for them because of their fear of cringe. I mean, many of them, they aren't going out and cheating on their significant others, although I'm sure that many of them also are cheating on their significant others in just as much a proportion as people from other age groups, maybe even more. Who cheats on their significant others more? Really young people, really old people, or is it the same across all generations? Wonder what your thoughts would be on that. And if there's an answer, I don't know it. But everything that the Zoomers do is in public. I mean, everything everybody does in public now, but we have the age and experience, at least enough wisdom, most of us, not the Coldplay, not the former CEO of Astronomer, but I wonder if, younger generations aren't taking risks, aren't having fun. They don't even dance. I mean, imagine. I read an article last week from a Substack from a lady who says that why aren't men dancing anymore? They asked a question, and one of the answers was just that because everything they do is so public now, it can be recorded. Your life can be destroyed overnight. And this is a perfect example of having your life destroyed overnight just by a simple video that can go mega viral. This is the peril of mass communication. You could send your thoughts to me on this topic or any of them. You can also send me show suggestions, questions, criticisms. I get plenty of those. They come in at 573-319-1586. Compliments, very rare. Very rare. When people like what you do, they just kind of, and then just keep on moving by. Yes, this is acceptable. I would take my free content and not even click the like button this morning. Yes, thank you. Some people, when they have criticisms, they're like, yes, the sound was a problem here. But when it's good, they'll usually just walk on by. John Stossel did this thing where he set up a whole buffet of food next to a pool to see how many people, freeloaders, would come up and take. Everybody came up and just started eating, right? Just it didn't matter that it wasn't theirs. They're like, oh, it's here. It's for everybody, right? And it's like, no, it's just how it is. You're just taking this free content and walking on by without clicking the like button. I'm going to pull my mustache of liberty. John Stossel will say, come on, freeloaders, click that like button or send me a text. Is that really the way you want to talk to your audience, Austin? 573-319-1586 is the text. It's all in good fun. 573-319-1586 is the text line. Click the like button, and if you haven't ever watched the show today and you get my weird sense of humor, click the follow button and become a regular viewer. Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. And again, you see that phone number at the bottom of your screen. If you want to become a regular chatter, you can do it in the Rumble comments, of course, but you could also send us a text. 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 is the text line. Program that into your phone as AP for Liberty or Wake Up America or whatever it is that you'd like to do. And become a regular viewer of the show. So back to the question, was the backlash justified, or have we become monsters who feed off of other people's destruction? Maybe it's not mutually exclusive. Maybe two things can be true at once. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there is a certain deliciousness to watching the elites crumble, especially hypocrites who preach professionalism and HR standards by day and then smuggle their secret boyfriend into Coldplay by night. I mean, the public has kind of lost their patience with corporate overlords who talk DEI and HR policy and then break all the rules the second they're unsupervised at a concert. But here's the real thing. I mean, this wasn't just about cheating. It was about power, class, and hypocrisy. And the CEO of a rising tech company, the HR executive from Boston Brahmin royalty, a public display of rule breaking, and a public that's had it with elites who screw up and think they get to walk away consequence free. This is why the populist movements across the world are catching fire. Even Japan elected their very first populist leaning politician in their recent elections. As a matter of fact, I just got a message this morning from one of my friends who's a correspondent in Japan who writes about these things. And he was talking about how, people are fed up with their current establishments in their countries, and these populist uprisings, these revolts are happening all over the world. And things like this are why, because what they say in their own lifestyles and what they do in their own lifestyles is very, very different. And the standards that they hold us to are very different than the standards that they hold themselves to. Like, they think that they can have as access to as many children as they want on Jeffrey Epstein's island and get away with it scot-free. And who's to disabuse them of those notions? It sure looks like they're going to get away with it scot-free. Grizz Cheese says, Jerry Springer was a huge hit because people love a train wreck as long as they aren't in it. Very true. Very true. L Dubs says, I mean, lest we forget, Hawk Tuah Girl got famous overnight for a joke that wasn't all that special or unique. Very good point there as well. You can't stop virality, he says. It's not like people are intentionally jumping on a person as opposed to all around the world reacting to one thing at one time. If it was Bob the plumber in Dayton, Ohio, cheating with a waitress at the Olive Garden, no one would care. You know what? I think you're right to a certain extent. The reason why the story has legs is because of who it involves. If it had just been, like you said, Jerry the plumber, it probably would have blown up, destroyed their lives, but then everybody would have moved on. Now we're talking about this again as like an A1 segment, prime segment here at 7:22 a.m. Central Time. And I'm devoting more airtime to it. And it's because of who it involves. We're talking about the Cabots of Boston, one of the oldest of families, some of the most powerful, richest people in the world. This CEO activated some Indian curse or something for going far like this. That's a man who's watched some 1980s movies right there. So it wasn't just about cheating. The story is also about power. It's about class, and it's about hypocrisy. Right? This is an HR executive from the Cabots, right? And this is the elites who think that they can screw up and walk away consequence-free. But as a matter of fact, you know what it reminds me of? Did anybody see the Netflix documentary Titan yet? That was a good one. Stephanie and I watched it this weekend. And it's all about this guy's ego, this Stockton guy. And he was taking chances with other people's lives. And you see in the documentary how he marginalizes anybody who questioned him or his plan or said that, hey, we need to get third party to rate this submarine. Look at all the problems we have with this carbon fiber hull, and they'd had issues with it before, and this type of new submarine. He was so jealous, this Stockton guy. He was so jealous of CEOs like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and all of these other wealthy and powerful and famous CEOs that he put people's lives in danger, including eventually his own and other innocent people who believed that they were being put into a situation where they were, and yeah, they had to sign an agreement that said they might die in this one. I understand that. Caveat emptor, buyer beware. Certainly the son of the billionaire who was inside of the submarine is someone that you can feel sadness for. And I felt terrible for the Titanic expert who went down there, although there was something of a beautiful irony to me inside, and maybe it's because I have like a dark sense of humor, and I kind of like, have a more morbid view of certain things sometimes than most people might. But Paul-Henri Nargeolet, he was a French explorer and Titanic expert, was also killed in the Titan submarine accident. Also another elite, but someone who didn't deserve to die in such a way. However, if Paul-Henri Nargeolet was going to die, it would be in that way at the Titanic. It's kind of like how, for me, I kind of feel like I already know how I'm going to die, and it's that I'm going to be eaten by a shark. Because one day my doctor is going to say, Austin, you can't scuba anymore. And if you can't scuba anymore, then what's this all about? Why am I doing all this? What quote? John got the Jesus quote. Somebody else has got to get that quote. But I know what's going to happen is they're going to say, Austin, you're too old. You just can't scuba anymore. And I'll be like, okay, no, I understand. I'm just going to go scuba one more time. And that's when we do the shark dive, and then you start to feed the tiger shark, and then you get a little bit too close, and you just pop your head right inside of it right there, and just. And people are like, Austin, why do you want to die like get eaten by a shark? Because you know why? Because it's freaking awesome. Who wants to die? If it's not a shark, then I hope I just am laying in my bed and then I just don't wake up. You know what I mean? But how do you want to die? There's a question for you. Talking about morbid, 573-319-1586 is the text line. But if Paul-Henri Nargeolet was going to die, he would have wanted to die by imploding in a sub, because here's the thing: if you're gonna die, that's honestly not the worst way to die. There are much worse ways. Stephanie's like, what about the cracking and the creaking? They would have heard it. Do you think they would have time? No. I'm sure that by now, many of you have seen the same meme videos that I have that look at what happened to the bodies inside of the submarine. Once the sub imploded, which you were either fine or you were not. You existed in two states in some ways. Fine and then not existing at one point. They showed a scientific analysis of how the bodies would have reacted, the alive bodies of the people inside of the submarine would have reacted, and the amount of time, the milliseconds that it takes for the human brain to comprehend what's happening. I mean, not even comprehend what's happening, but to have a pain response is longer than even the amount of time that it would have taken for the light that would have reached their eyes for them to understand or comprehend, to begin to comprehend what was happening. It was all over in an instant. My left snap doesn't sound the same as my right snap. This one sounds like kind of like it's underwater, but listen to this one. I wonder what, maybe it's just a lot of exercise with my right hand for some reason. I don't know. Hoo-ah! Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Grizz Cheese says that he wants to die smothered betwixt my wife's boobs. Okay. Yeah. I want to die the same way I came into the world, naked, screaming, covered in someone else's blood. Jesus. Why a wild man? You are a wild man. Wildebeest. We'll just pick off one of the sick ones. Yeah, the Titan story had some weird reaction to it, but why did the Titan story have legs? The Titan story had legs because it had all the elements of a great story. It had the possibility of a rescue. Remember, for 48 hours, we thought that there was a chance that they might actually be stranded at the bottom, that there might be a chance that they could bring them up and save them. But in reality, I think it was the Coast Guard or the Navy, whoever has the listening devices for the Russian subs, heard the implosion as soon as it happened and had pretty much guessed that that was the situation. But, of course, hope being what it is, they went out there. But the CEO was negligent. The CEO was taking chances, not only with his own life, but with other people's lives as well. This is why stories like this, the CEO, ex-CEO of Astronomer, this is why this story has legs. This is why people are talking about it, because it's not just a story about normal, everyday people cheating. This is a story about the elites of this world who think that they can go to Coldplay concerts and cheat on their spouses and go to pedophile islands and get away with it. And the question is, will we let them? Isn't that really what the story is? I want to go out, I want to die like my grandfather did, quietly in his sleep and not screaming and yelling like the people on his bus. Thanks, Arvel. Good to see you, bud. All right. So at some point, though, public shaming stops being justice and starts being blood sport. And when it's done by a faceless mob who won't have to live with the aftermath, it warps something essential in us. Small town shame had limits. Social media shame is limitless. So what do you think? Are we finally holding the powerful accountable, or have we just become cancel-happy chaos goblins? Hit the comments, or better yet, make sure your next Coldplay date isn't live streamed to 200 million people. What do you guys think? Send us a text at that phone number on the bottom of the screen. That's 573-319-1586 is the text line. 573-319-1586. That's the text line. Say it. Don't spray it. Hey, what's going on here? Where's the videos? Where's the stinking videos? Hold on one second. Let's play the Squid Game while I was... This is a totally random clip. Has nothing to do with anything, but it just made me really happy to see this woman screaming at this government employee. Showed up to her front door. Watch this. Just FYI, there's going to be some pretty harsh language. So if you got this volume turned up somewhere, or you got little children listening, there are some. They're in a very heavy British accent. FYI, so they probably won't even understand the words that they're saying because it's almost like a second language. But there are some words that are understandable as she speaks to this government employee in very, very colorful language. FYI.
Good morning, guys.
My name's John Harris. I'm an enforcement agent. I work for Noonan's PLC. I'm here on behalf of London Borough of Croydon, just to make you aware of everybody will video.
Yeah, I know you're a little traitor, moron, wanker.
My intention is...
Short moron, government bitch.
For your protection of mine and can be used in evidence. Look,
Yeah. The courts are going down. You're going down.
are you in this?
And you're going on YouTube, Facebook, Telegram.
Yeah.
You're going to be made famous as a little traitor, midget, Gestapo cunt that you are.
Have a letter, madam.
Yeah.
Have a letter,
Coming up
madam.
your ass, cunt. You're going to prison soon.
No,
And you're
she's-
going to be famous in about 2 minutes when I put this on Telegram. There's a group against. I'm going to take you all to court for harassing people through getting money through menaces. So I hope you won't sleep at night again, you cunts, because you won't be soon, because you're all going to prison, you little fat midget. Fuck off! Go get a proper job and stop harassing people, you cunts. You're going to get it. You're going to get your day in hell. You better start praying to God, you little bitch.
Yeah, jeez. Haven't you ever just wanted to talk to somebody like that? Boy, if you could do it in a British accent, it'd be amazing. Go hell, you boy. Harry Potter. Yeah, wizard. God, midget. And she had all the insults in there. Now, speaking of things that are supposed to be sweet and end up giving us a stomach ache, let's talk about Donald Trump and sugar. That's right. Last week, Donald Trump got on Truth Social and said he'd been talking to Coca-Cola and that Coke had agreed to bring back real cane sugar in their sodas. Yay, cue applause. He called it a very good move. And I got to admit, nostalgia hit me right in the enamel. Glass bottle, right? Mexican Coke. Ever had it? Real sugar, freedom. What's not to love, right? Well, it turns out reality got in our way, right? Here's the problem. The United States doesn't make enough cane sugar to pull this off. Not even close, right? America consumes 12.5 million tons of sugar every year, but we only produce about 4 million tons of cane sugar. The rest comes from sugar beets and imports, or, of course, good old high fructose corn syrup, right? This is the stuff that makes you fat, sad, and confused about why your pants don't fit. Coca-Cola doesn't just flip a switch and turn corn syrup into cane sugar. The global supply chains, tariffs, the sugar program. Did you know we have a sugar program? It's all part of the bureaucratic molasses swamp. So let me break this down for you, okay? First, the United States sugar industry is basically a protected cartel. Right? There are only 13 major sugar processors in the entire country. They operate under what are essentially sweetheart government subsidies and protectionist rules that date back to the 1930s. Think Great Depression era farm socialism with a splash of corporate cronyism as well. So the USDA literally buys excess sugar to prop up prices and keep foreign competitors out through what they call tariff rate quotas. So if you want to import sugar from Brazil or Mexico, you get slapped with a 16 cent per pound tariff. So that makes that business very uncompetitive. And Trump now, he wants to import more sugar from Brazil and Mexico while also slapping tariffs on those same countries. So the guy's playing 4D chess, but I think he just checkmated his own Coca-Cola plan. And you have to understand that the corruption in Florida and Louisiana is so thick that it is said that it is impossible to become a U.S. senator from the state of Florida without being entirely in the pockets of the domestic sugar manufacturing cartel. And so if you become a senator in the state of Florida, you can rest assured that you will likely find heavy campaign donations coming from those who work in the sugar industry because they want to guarantee that the subsidies and the protection, the tariffs, guarantee them their favorable situation over their competitors. But also right now, there's the corn lobby who is involved in all this. This is all a big government, statist, authoritarian mess. And the corn lobby, of course, not happy with this, right? Because 3% of U.S. corn production goes into making this corn syrup. And if we dump that for sugar, right, we're getting rid of that, right? The corn prices could drop by 34 cents a bushel. And that's a huge hit for Midwestern farmers. Think about the farmers in Kansas, in Missouri, and in Nebraska, especially right now, the Cornhuskers. If corn prices dropped by 34 cents a bushel because Donald Trump pressured Coca-Cola to stop using corn and to buy heavily taxed imported sugar from Brazil or from Mexico, then that means a lot of things. That means that our corn producers are going to have less money here in the Midwest, bad for us and our local economies. And also, it means that all of us who drink Coca-Cola, which I've backed off on over the years, a lot of the sugars, but nonetheless, when I want a Coca-Cola, if I want a delicious Coca-Cola, when I want one with cane sugar, I actually know where to go in my community to find these things. And when I suggest to a lot of people on the right that they do the same, they're like, "Yeah, I don't want to have to go to that." We'll talk about that in just a minute. But the corn lobby is freaking out because corn prices could drop. And then the rest of the country will have to pay higher prices for Coca-Cola because instead of just going to the local bodega and getting a bottle of Mexican Coke, we've taxed ourselves into screwing over local farmers in our communities and making ourselves all pay higher prices for Coca-Cola. It just doesn't make any sense. What's wrong with people? It's dumb. So the sugarcane crop, I think most of you are probably aware of this, but if you didn't know, it only grows in Florida and Louisiana. And expanding production of cane sugar means that we're going to have to cut down cornfields, right? We're going to have to spend millions of dollars on new equipment, and we're going to also have to pray for enough humidity to actually pull off that crop. All right, so you can't just trump your way into doubling cane supply. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes investment. You have to completely change your operations. Growing corn is not like growing sugarcane. It's a completely different crop. It requires different conditions and a little bit of luck, right? So on top of that, companies like Dublin Bottling Works in Texas have used cane sugar for over a century. These are the OGs, right? And they've never switched to corn syrup because, according to the owner, cane sugar makes the soda smell better when it's cooking. And that's the kind of commitment that we love. Why not just support what already exists? Right? But let's be real. This isn't about taste. It's not. It's about control. It's a handful of sugar barons like the Fonjul family of Florida crystals have turned sugar into a lobbying empire. Here's the real poop. They've donated $40 million to Florida politicians since 2017. They pollute the Everglades, they rake in billions, and they block reforms. Meanwhile, consumers pay $3.5 billion more per year just to eat food that's overly sweet and underwhelming. So here we are. Trump wants to make soda great again, but he's crashing into big sugar, big corn, big bureaucracy, and of course, and the very swamp he promised to drain. So here's my advice. If you want real sugar, buy a glass bottle of Mexican Coke, raise it high, and toast to the irony of the America First sugar supply chain might just be better off south of the border. There we go. Daniela Pensack appeared this last weekend on Jubilee to debate Mehdi Hassan. Let's react.
I'm in a room full of, I don't know what to call you anymore, conservatives, Republicans, fascists, I don't know. Are your parents Americans or immigrants?
No, my parents are United States citizens.
But they're immigrants, you said?
No, they came here as immigrants. However, but
so
I want to make the claim that we cannot
I came here as an immigrant, I'm an immigrant.
But at this point, when they came, the United States economy...
People aren't happy with the way this is going. First, Fourth, Fifth, 14th, 22nd Amendments. Those are my amendments that I came with today. If you don't want to debate them, just say so.
Are you supporting, like, raping innocent women? Nuns, dude. Killing priests? I mean, priests don't brandish guns and kill people.
You just refuse to condemn the Nazi Holocaust, my friend. I don't think you're in a position to ask anyone any questions.
I said that one pardon against somebody?
It was 1,600 pardons. 600 of those were people charged
one
with...
example that you just gave me.
I can give you more. Just should I keep going?
Fine. And I'll say the exact same thing every single time.
Then your argument will fall apart. When was the Islamic Republic of Iran founded?
1979.
When was Gaza occupied by Israel?
Well, the very
67.
first time. 67, yes.
So, can we do the maths together? 12 years before the Islamic Islamic Republic of Iran existed, Israel was oppressing, occupying, dispossessing the people of Gaza. So your argument makes no sense. Neither of us are economists. It's the economist studies.
Don't assume who I am.
Are you an economist?
I could be.
But are you?
I could be.
Are you?
I'm not going to tell you.
Are you?
I'm going to major in economics, right?
Are you an economist?
No, not right now.
Okay, so when I said neither is economist, I was correct. Everyone here uses an iPhone designed by an immigrant, is on Gmail designed by an immigrant, is what is on a YouTube show.
But this
all came to a YouTube show.
Yeah.
Now, of course, clips can say lots of different things, and they can be clipped in order to make one person look bad and the other person look good. We are respond. This is a reaction video this morning. I want you all to know that despite the fact that I was doing all of this other work to get your great guests on the show, sometimes I don't have time to view all the clips. So what do? We do a reaction video because it's easy. One, and honest, right? AP, honest to a fault, AP. And two, because a reaction video is sometimes more fun. So this is the first time I'm seeing some of these clips. And I'm reacting to them in real time. But don't forget that when you're watching clips that they can be selectively edited, and that if you want to form a full opinion that you really need to watch the entire video. And I'm seeing Daniela this morning complaining that some of the clips of her are being taken out of context and that people should watch the entire video, which I absolutely plan to do. Mehdi Hassan took on what appears to be 20 Zoomers and that are far right. But one, I wouldn't even say necessarily far right. I mean, I won't say self-described fascist, but I mean, described his beliefs, which end in fascism, but calls himself an believer in autocracy. Daniela, here she is saying that on her way to write another Substack about this. Here she is. I don't know why these people are running, but I mean, go Daniela, go. Looks like Danielle is getting dragged by the left in the comments. Of course, they have no idea what's going on. Glad we have the Second Amendment for people like you. I mean, is that a threat? Daniela says, not sure if this is a thinly veiled threat, question mark. And Little Chakra says, bro, you're out here pushing the advocacy of white supremacy and want to bunker away from the truth. My ancestors went through hell to access our freedom and achieved phenomenally on our own. The world is a wild place. You can't pretend hate speech doesn't have repercussions. She says, how did I do that here? What are you talking about? Oh, Daniela, if you think that you're going to be able to convince leftists of anything. Now, what from little I did see of these clips, I have to say, and I know that I'm not being a good little tribal person here when I say this, but it does look like Mehdi Hassan had the upper hand on many of these people because they look like they were very, very young. And Mehdi Hassan is an accomplished, whether you like him or he's accomplished at being an idiot. I might agree with you on that one. And yet you cannot disagree with the fact that someone may have superior debate tactics. And when you send 20 Zoomers up against someone who has years and years of television and broadcast and journalism experience, you're gonna run into a situation where you have clips like these that are gonna make these Zoomers look bad. But let's be real, the Zoomers these days do look bad. They aren't making good arguments for their causes, and when they aren't making bad arguments for their causes, are generally looking like being made to look like fools with interviews like these. And I could say Daniela, of course, the exemption, but the rest of the people that I've seen right here, for sure, I've not had much of a high opinion of their performance. I have to say that you're going to get these kinds of owns. So you got to be careful walking into these kinds of things because they do tend to be an ambush made specifically to make people look bad. And you have to remember your Frederick Bastiat, who said that sometimes it is worse for a good cause to be ineptly defended, right, or than it is for it to be skillfully attacked.
Is on Gmail, designed by an immigrant, is what is on a YouTube show.
But this
all came to a YouTube show, founded by an immigrant. You wouldn't be here.
But that's a tiny minority.
So you all love immigrants, whether you like it or not. We're not going to reach a common ground because you said I'm not American.
Please try.
I don't think you're American.
I'm saying you're not.
I don't think you're American.
I'm saying you're not American due to values.
I don't think you're not American on values either. I think you're.
What if we just said that the Muslim and the fascists are all not Americans? Can we all agree on that? They should just deport them all. Daniela can stay.
Little fascisty, little racisty. I'm an American citizen. I went through lots of vetting. I took my test.
And that's how it should be.
Wants us to leave.
But
he wants us to leave.
When people
don't really care about vetting, do they? But it's not really about vetting, is it, my friend?
People should not have.
You're in denial. You got rid of an American citizen from the country without process.
So
that's the Fifth Amendment violation.
Looks like he's filibustering. Which, by the way, for people who complain about filibustering, if you complain about filibustering, you have to filibuster back. You've got to. There's ways to stop filibusters, right? You can crack a filibuster, but again, this is a filibuster is a difficult nut to crack. But these are Zoomer right-wing identified Zoomers, many of them, and again, they are not seasoned professional elite media broadcasters like Mehdi Hassan is. You got to give him his due on that.
Up to date on that specific
I'll give you
case.
more.
I'm sure you can. So
Well, you weren't aware that American citizens are being deported. It's a pretty big story.
Yeah, the
Maybe if
trial
you
that
read the
probably
fake
went
news,
through.
you might know.
I don't think I'm
Is this
doing
how
as
you
bad-
get rounds of applause? You sit in a room with 20 people who agree with you. Wow, amazing. Amazing. That
Well,
must
wait
make you
till
feel
this
good.
comes out.
We should be nice.
That's a classic Machiavellian strategy. It destroyed his ego there. Is this how you get rounds of applause? You sit in a room with 20 people who agree with you. Wow, amazing. That must make you feel good. No, it's a pretty good one. I was listening to a little Machiavelli on The Prince when I was on my mower this weekend, and Mehdi Hassan is using all of the classic tools.
Amazing. That must
wait
make you
till
feel
this comes
good.
out.
We should be nicer to you, otherwise you'll deport us. What a great argument. This is a free speech debate, Ken. It's not your country, my friend. It's our country, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, Mehdi Hassan is absolutely right. It's sad to watch, but that's the truth.
I'm in a room full of, I don't know what to call you anymore. Conservatives, Republicans, fascists, I don't know. Are your parents not happy with the way this is going? First, Fourth, Fifth, 14th, 22nd Amendments. Those are my amendments that I came with today. If you don't want to debate them, just say so.
Are you supporting like raping innocent women?
That dude was like the one that the Zoomers were all like, oh yeah, he's so base and amazing, but he's actually quite stupid.
My family lineage is settlers from the 1500s. So
You don't look very Native American to me.
I am Native American. Whites are Native Americans. What are you
Sorry,
talking about?
you're not.
What are you talking about?
You're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
Hey,
Yeah,
what can I
agreed.
say?
I think you
Yeah,
say
I mean, I was like that doesn't make sense. Like, why are you putting someone who is an avowed fascist, this kid? Why would you put him in with like far right Republicans? Because I mean, like fascists, like and Nazis and things like that. When he says later, and I've got his whole clip, we can react to it. But he says he's for autocracy. So I mean, like this is like Mehdi Hassan is pushing like Middle East bullshit, and then you've got this guy who's pushing Eurotrash bullshit. So it's not they're not really neither one are really Americans.
say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
Listen to me.
Fascist is European shit. That's not American. Go back to Europe.
I am an immigrant. I'm speaking from personal experience.
Get the hell out.
I don't even like. I should get the hell out.
Yes.
Why?
I don't want you here.
My first
God damn, what'd they find the dumbest people they could for this? Daniela excluded.
claim is Donald Trump is pro-crime and pro-criminal. Donald Trump is defying the Constitution. Immigrants overall are good for America. Donald Trump's plan for Gaza is ethnic cleansing. I'm Mehdi Hassan. I'm a journalist. I'm the editor of Zeteo. And today I'm surrounded by 20 far-right conservatives.
Not really. Maybe 19 of them were far right conservatives, but I mean, here's the one kid's like, I had the guts to say it. I probably suck a lot of, a lot of peen in my time, but I'm definitely wearing the cross, so nobody knows.
Processes that are enabling criminals and bad people.
God does not exist, or I don't believe in God, or, I think that Jesus had biological brothers or sisters, or whatever you might deem as blasphemy.
If Trump is-
This is why they didn't want Catholics coming to the founding fathers, didn't want Catholics in charge. Here's the thing. If the only thing about you that's conservative is just your social values and things like that, I don't really consider that to be conservative. I mean, like the Hitlerites weren't conservatives. Essentially, they went from Catholicism to a strange form of paganism once they realized that Jesus wouldn't have approved of their beliefs. If you wanted a picture of the left-right divide in this country with like the complete worst aspects of all of American society into two people, you couldn't have picked a better arrangement right here. You have the absolute utter shit of American political society. And you know what the sad truth is that their two ideologies, those are the dominant ideologies in America. You have this radical Muslim leftist who he basically agrees with him that they need to just amend the Constitution to support the things that they support and are against and remove the things that they don't agree with there. And no respect for the Constitution whatsoever. And so they're both on each side of things. These are probably the dominant ideals, right? The next president of the United States who's a Republican will probably, be exec. So basically his argument is that he's not for a Republican form of government, this Zoomer kid. So he's not a small R Republican, right? He's not. He's an autocrat, which means that he believes in a monarchy, right? That a Catholic dictator should run the United States. Okay, that's definitely anti-American. And definitely, if we're going to be deporting people or denaturalizing people according to his views, that is a young man who needs to be denaturalized and deported right alongside Mehdi Hassan. If there's going to be any denaturalization or deportation, it's going to be from the Catholic authoritarians and the Muslim authoritarians. Send them all back. Get Mehdi Hassan a one-way trip to Dubai, and then get wherever this kid wants to go. Send him a ticket to the vet. Sit around clapping the back to your white. It's like when sit around, you watch a bunch of blacks playing, oh, we're black and all this kind of stuff. It's just that identity politics. It is the woke right? That is the woke right. Fine, dude, because obviously now you're coming out and people are going to find out who you are. But I mean, it's just really sad to watch it. And if you're 20, you're like, oh, what a great opportunity. I don't have Daniela's full clip of this one. We will probably do a reaction video when we clip that one. That just came out yesterday, so we didn't have time to get all of it. But I saw that kid and I was just like, Jesus. Have you ever watched a debate or like maybe a boxing match and you're like, don't you wish they could both lose? Cringe. All right. Now, folks, I've been waiting all morning to get to this because while the media can't stop talking about Gen Z and the boomers, it turns out that the real political muscle in America wears flannel, drank out of garden hoses, and used to record songs off the radio onto cassette tapes. That's right. Generation X, once dismissed as the slacker generation, is now the most Republican generation in the country. Congratulations, Gen X. Huh. According to new exit polls, they voted for Trump over Kamala Harris by 8 points, higher than any other age group. That's the generation here, guys, that's raised on family ties, where Alex P. Keaton wore suits to high school and loved Ronald Reagan while his hippie parents shook their heads in horror. They survived the 1970s melees, came of age during the 1990s crime wave, and weren't raised by TikTok therapists. No participation trophies for Gen X. And joining us now, or at least in less than 5 minutes, to talk about how Gen X pulled off the political power move is a guy who would know. That is John Miltimore, managing editor, from the American Institute of Economic Research, talking about how Gen X delivered the election to Donald Trump. We'll be right back with John Miltimore. It's Mondays with Miltimore. Keep getting those Rumble rants in, guys. We're $20 towards the $75 goal to unlock that bonus content, and the first hour's already over. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Here at Alligator Alcatraz, the fence keeps them in. But slip up, and you're on my plate.
Looks like breakfast is making a run for it. We got 3 hot meals trying to check out early from Alligator Alcatraz.
They can splash, they can sprint, but there's no escaping Alligator Alcatraz. Caught 2. The third? Huh. The swamp's got its own way of catching runaways.
Mama was wrong. Gators don't need toothbrushes. Just an honest job making America great again.
Patriots, listen up. The sun's out, the shades are on, and the Gulf of America is wide open for business. This summer, don't show up to the beach looking like a landlocked liberal. Gear up with the Gulf of America collection. Towels, tumblers, shirts, hats, fanny packs, because nothing says freedom like cannonballing into liberty with style. Whether you're grilling burgers, catching waves, or just flexing on social media, do it draped in stars, stripes, and pure American greatness. The Gulf of America isn't just a place, it's a lifestyle. Hit 4libertyshop.com and roll into summer like the Founding Fathers just handed you the keys to the coast. Beaches, BBQs, and bald eagles approved. You should too. Head over to 4libertyshop.com and get your Gulf of America gear. Summer is coming fast. That's 4libertyshop.com. Legend has it, back in 1773, a band of angry, overtaxed patriots stormed a British ship, found the king's favorite tea, and said, This would taste better without the tyranny. Then they tossed it overboard. Fast forward to today. That revolutionary spirit lives on in Boston Harbor Black, the boldest brew in the 4 Libert tea lineup. It's dark, it's smooth, it's unapologetically American, just like the folks who drink it. Whether you're sweetening it up on the front porch or drinking it straight like a Minuteman before battle, this isn't tea for royalty, it's tea for rebels. No fake flavors, no corporate slogans, just a cold glass of Don't Tread on Me in liquid form. So skip the woke iced tea aisle and stock up on Boston Harbor Black at 4libertyshop.com. Because when the heat's rising, the least you can do is drink like a patriot.
Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. It's 8:01 a.m. Central Time here on the 21st of July. Just 2 more days until little baby Hazel's first birthday. So exciting. The year flew by. Donald Trump pulls the highest with Generation X and millennials, and the wears flannel, drank out of garden hoses, used to record songs off the radio onto cassette tapes, right? So, John, you painted a very vivid picture of Generation X in your piece. Madonna record deals, MTV, and now MAGA. So how did a generation that once seemed apolitical or even cynical about politics become Trump's strongest base of support? And welcome.
Hey, it's an interesting story. You know, it goes back. Politico wrote an article about this in 2022, and the writer Ben Jacobs said that Gen X is the Trumpiest generation, and it's a 2,000-word story, a deep dive. And Philip Bump at the Washington Post wrote a year later. He said, no, this is all wrong. And he said, you're looking at the data wrong. And Bump said, completely poured cold water on that thesis. As it happened, an election came the next year. So we got to actually see the results. And it's very clear. We have good data on this. Gen X was the only generation that went for Trump, and they went by a large margin. Boomers were pretty close. Millennials close-ish. Gen Z went pretty strong for Kamala Harris, but Gen X, which is a pretty large cohort, went overwhelmingly for Trump. And I wrote that piece about it and tried to explain a little bit. This is a generation that grew up kind of rebels at heart. We listened to Twisted Sister and Ozzy Osbourne. We rode bikes without helmets. Gen X, I think, is the most individualistic generation. They don't like being imposed on. And, if you look back in the 80s, we thought of that as like, don't tell us what music to listen to. Like there was a lot of the backlash was against
like Twisted
cultural
Sister. Showing up to the to Congress to talk about censorship, and I think that he told Congress off, didn't he?
He did. We're not going to take it was the message of Twisted Sister, and they did. You had Al Gore and some who kind of made an alliance with cultural conservatives that said we're going to put these warning labels on your music, and they said hell no. And that is kind of the spirit of Gen X. They don't like being told what to do, and they're not one that is going to faint. I write, and the only thing that they find offensive is the phrase "that's offensive." That offends me. Like, we don't care. No, don't tell us what to do. We're not going to faint over these things. So Trump, who can be a coarse man, who can be a vulgar man, who can, be in your face, like his style doesn't really bother Gen X. And I think for boomers, they really struggle with a guy like Trump, because he's the bull in the china shop, and they can't deal with that. For Gen X, I write in there, Trump is the Happy Gilmore of politics. He's the guy that's going to come in and, do all the things that's going to make the elites angry. But if you look at Washington today, I think a lot of people in Gen X would say we need a guy like that. There's a lot going on over there. We need somebody to come in here and fix these things. And so I think that is why Gen X, is warmer to Trump than any other generation.
So you quote guys who say things like, we grew up drinking out of the garden hose, and then you made us wear masks outside. Is Gen X's political shift more about cultural rebellion than traditional policy issues then?
I think so. I don't think Gen X is going to be quoting Hayek more than boomers or anything like that. I think it is cultural. And, we grew up as kids watching Family Ties, right? And there was this great dynamic on that show where you had Alex P. Keaton, this young Reagan conservative, with his boomer parents. Then they came at things very different politically. And sometimes Alex was the one that was making the better case. Sometimes his parents had smart things to say. But there's a nuance there that's missing from a lot of television today and politics today, that there's some yin and yang. There's both sides. And so I think Gen X is going to reject a lot of the political dogma that they hear. And let's face it, there is a lot of that today. And I think you'll see why Gen X really doesn't like the social justice crowd, because they really are more fundamentalist, I think, than anyone else in politics. So this idea that you have to do this or you can't say that pisses off Gen X. That's not their style. So they are a cultural backlash against that ideology in particular, I think.
Joni Rankin in the chat says, my lovely liberal daughter tried to make me feel good by telling me I was more X than boomer.
That is a compliment.
The boomers get so mad too when you call them would say okay boomers, man. For them it's like they're already popped off. They're a very angry generation anyways, right? They're very cranky, but I mean the okay boomer stuff, it really hit them hard. One commenter noted Gen X's low consumption of legacy media and college indoctrination. Do you think that the Gen X independence from mainstream media made them more immune to elite narratives, more sympathetic to Trump? Talk about the media skepticism.
Yeah, I think they are a more skeptical generation overall, right? I think they're more cynical and they're less gullible, I think, than like you'll see the subsequent generation. And I think there probably was something to do with the education component there. I think universities changed, over the years. Universities did become more conformist and more dogmatic. I think Gen X experienced less of that, and there was a little bit more like, well, no, you have this side, but you also have this side. There was much more nuance in the education, and I really think they're probably better educated overall too. They're able to spot logical fallacies better, and things like that. So there is a difference there. And again, I'll just reiterate, these are generalizations, right? Like I have a good friend, a neighbor, he's a millennial, but he's a Gen X soul. You can just see he is a Gen X soul. You have others that are in Gen X and they have a boomer soul, right? You can just see like they're different. So these are generalizations, but I do think you can find some value in these things. Like these generations do take on these characteristics when you're painting with a broad brush.
I love the part in your piece where you talk about Trump as the Happy Gilmore of politics, like you mentioned. He's loud, he's vulgar, but he's somehow beloved. Why do you think that style resonates with Generation X, but alienates like boomers and Generation Z?
I think it goes back to how we were raised. And this was a generation that rock and roll, Motley Crue, all this stuff. It was kind of coarse. I remember my mother looking at a Poison album cover and being, just horrified. Oh yeah, right. For sure. And but that was just the spirit of Gen X was rebellion against. Again, it was against more of a cultural conservative time, but that spirit held, right? And this idea that you had to wear a helmet to ride a motorcycle, that was not Gen X. Like there was going to be a generation that was going to do its thing. You're not going to impose your will on us. And I think that translates well to today's politics when everyone's trying to impose on you from every corner. And Gen X is like, no, stop it. And a lot of these people that grew up are now in state legislatures today, in the halls of Congress today, and some of that spirit lives on. And I think it's a very good thing. Doesn't mean that they're always right in their politics. Doesn't mean that Trump's right. Because they vote more for Trump doesn't mean he's always right. But that spirit is important. We need that individualistic spirit, and I think there's something very capitalistic about that too. That says it's a get off my lawn generation. You deal with yours. I'll deal with mine. You do you, I'll do me. I think we need more of that in this country. And I'll say it on the left and the right today. The right can adopt these attitudes too, where we're going to try to impose our will on you. If they do that, Gen X is going to finally find itself embracing, the left more or Democrats more if they can become a party that's not going to be trying to impose their will on everyone else.
I'm talking to John Miltimore this morning from the American Institute of Economic Research. It's called Mondays with Miltimore when John Miltimore joins us live for a talk segment. Today we're talking about Generation X overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump over boomers and Zoomers. That's why you see a lot of these protests, John, on the street. It's like all of these geriatrics who are out there protesting Donald Trump. And it's because I think a lot of them, they believe the mainstream media lies. They believe the legacy media lies, that Trump's going to cut their Medicaid, despite the fact that Trump very clearly said multiple times that they would not be touching Medicaid, they would not be touching Social Security. But the simple fact that Doge was even brought in the beginning activated something deep in the communist brains of the boomer generation. Not all boomers are communists, especially not the ones who are listening to the Wake Up America show. You are all exempt. But a lot of boomers are communists, and they're the ones who are showing up to these protests against Trump. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all knowing what I know. I imagine it probably doesn't surprise you, John.
No, if you look at the boomer generation, that is their MO, right? Like they love to protest. Like they like to protest in a way. Gen X is not the protest generation. We want to go do our thing. You do your thing. The boomers, like for them, there's something that they've learned to embrace about protesting, whatever it is. If you look back during the 60s, that was their thing, that they identify with the getting out, holding signs, protesting. So, and there were this isn't about not protesting. That's part of the American tradition. And a lot of things that were going on in the 60s should have been protested. But if you look today, they want to go back to that. They want to embrace that. Like, let's get out and hold signs and protest Trump for whatever he's doing. Right. It wasn't going. They were going to find an excuse. Many of them were just going to find an excuse to protest Trump, regardless what he was doing. So I'm not surprised that that's happening again. And it's easy to get young people out too. Like I think a lot of these, you'll see this mixture. As you say, you got a lot of very, very old people, and then you got your 18, 19-year-olds out there who are still trying. Their worldviews are still forming, and they are consuming a lot of media. They're terrified of Trump. Maybe you saw Brad Palumbo was on CNN last week, and this came up when he told Ana Navarro that she was being hyperbolic when she compared Trump to what's going on, to the reign of terror, right? And but that's what people are hearing, and they really, if you look at historically the reign of terror, they were lopping the heads off of political opponents, like literally, like that. Thousands of people were being hauled off to guillotines, and their heads were being lopped off. So Brad was right. This is a very hyperbolic comparison, but that's effective at with certain segments of our society today. Young people, they don't have a lot of experience out there, and they hear things like this, reign of terror, that language motivates them, gets them out there marching with signs, and there is a certain effectiveness with that.
John, one more question on this topic, then I want to ask you about something else, if you don't mind here. Let me pull up my notes. You said that Gen X holds morals without moral preening. They laugh at off-color jokes. They're hard to offend. In today's political climate, is that more than just a generational personality? Do you think that that's kind of become a political position in itself?
I do. I think what we've seen in the last decade or so is this revolt against this idea that you can't say that, you can't do that, you can't. It became a very smothering place to live. And we saw people, like Justine Bateman, go back to Family Ties, right? She was, she's not some, traditional Republican or anything. And, she was on Family Ties as well. But she's a Hollywood liberal. But she began to really feel suffocated. And she's written about this. She's tweeted about it. A smothering country where you couldn't have this attitude, or that's the wrong opinion. And people felt that. And so I think we are, the pendulum swinging back. And this has become something where, no, you can't tell me what to say. You can't tell me you can tell me my opinion's wrong, but you can't silence me. This whole idea of cancel culture really got, it went wild, right? Like where people were getting fired for just really little stuff. And again, an employer can fire people for any reason they want, in most cases, right? That's not really the point. Like, we were weaponizing language, and we saw this hyper politicized culture where people were afraid to do and say anything. And if you look, there's been a fever that has kind of broken. People are not behaving that way anymore. I think people feel rejuvenated a little bit, that they don't feel quite like they were walking on eggshells all the time. And I think that has kind of, it's not just a Gen X thing. I think that idea is kind of filtering out through other generations as well, and being kind of something that's being embraced by a lot of people.
John, I got a text from our listeners at 573-319-1586. I think I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the biggest controversy in the world, the Coldplay concert that went viral with the now ex-CEO of astronomy. This is the text I got from our buddy Kyle. He said, Byron and Cabot are the avatars of everyone's corporate misery. I, like so many others, have been tortured by an HR lady and a tone-deaf CEO. Let them burn figuratively, he says. And P.S., I can't listen live for now, but still watch every day. Well, Kyle, when you're listening to us later, thank you for the text. So do you think it went too far, John? Or do you think, because in a libertarian society, if we don't have laws that punish people for getting divorced other than like alimony, then isn't this very hostile form of public cancellation, destruction of their lifestyle, this kind of, I guess, bullying from the public, and complete and total destruction of their lives? Isn't this how a libertarian society would police our own without using the government?
Has this been blown out of proportion a little bit? Sure. Like, because everyone's talking about it. Like, it came up at family dinner. Everybody knew this story. But let's face it, they had this coming. Like, they were sneaking around, going to a concert. There's no issue here with this president, of astronomer, if it's not the HR head, right? He can be with somebody else, but when you mix business that way, you're asking for trouble. So I think they had this coming. I'm not sure any human deserves the amount of ridicule that has been heaped on them. They certainly did something wrong and deserve consequences for that. But like, let's face it, this is going to define their life now. And that's kind of sad, even though they were doing something that I think most people would agree is reprehensible.
John Miltimore, everybody. His article, How Gen X Delivered the Election to Donald Trump, required reading if you want to understand the most quietly powerful political bloc in America today. Find him on X at Miltimore79. Anything else you want to share, John, before we go?
No, great being with you. Have a great week, AP.
You're terrible at promoting yourself. Follow his Substack, The Take.
Hey, you already did it for me.
Yeah, The Take by John Miltimore. The Take by John Miltimore. For God's sakes, John. We'll see you next week. Have a good one, buddy.
Hey, have a good one, brother.
I have a doubt that everything they've accused me of has been wrong, false, and they are scrambling. They were saying that Under the Blade was about sadomasochism and bondage. It was about my guitar player's throat operation.
It's not really a wild leap of the imagination to jump to the conclusion that that's about something other than surgery or hospitals, neither of which are mentioned in the song.
No, it's not a wild jump, and I think what I said in one part was that songs allow a person to put their own imagination, experiences, and dreams into the lyrics. People can interpret it many ways. Ms. Gore was looking for sadomasochism and bondage, and she found it. Someone looking for surgical references would have found it as well.
Yeah. I said, I can't help that Tipper Gore's got a dirty mind, and Al Gore just, oh my God, he really jumped over the table. They were saying, we're not going to take it. What should be on the filthy 15 for violence? And it was no more violent than the Declaration of Independence.
The PMRC rated songs.
That's pretty violent, honestly. We're not gonna take it. No, we're not gonna take it. How awesome is that for a segue? Do you think any other morning show that you watch is gonna have those kinds of discussions? That we just had high-minded discussions, and then they're going to play the Twisted Sister clip after that. If they don't have a full production team, no, hell no, they're not going to do it. But if it's just one person running the whole show, getting everything done, everything's happening while it's live, and you want the best possible quality with one stinking person running the show, one stinking person, and that's me. It's only the Wake Up America show. There is no other show who's going to do it. So unlock the bonus content, right? It's Hazel's birthday this week in her honor. What do you say? $22 raised towards the $75 goal so far. To unlock the bonus content, we hit $75. You get to watch that instead of commercials when we bring up our next guest, which will be Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports. He's the honest pollster over on X. Mark Mitchell says that Trump has been losing support amongst key demographics that helped him get elected. He's going to talk to us about the numbers and what might be behind it here coming up in less than 10 minutes. It's 8:21 a.m. Central Time. And in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to go to a commercial break. But why go to a commercial break? Why? Because, well, Austin, because he's the one running the show, has to go back and play some commercials while he goes and gets ready and gets the guest queued up for you guys. And rather than watching commercials, because commercials, as great as they are could never be as great as watching the amazing bonus content that we have on the Wake Up America show. If you unlock the bonus content, you get to watch the fun bonus mini documentary instead of the commercials. And while, again, our commercials are great, everybody would much rather watch our awesome little mini documentary. I know you would. And thank you to Quest Fanning, who also kicked in $5 earlier. Again, we are at $22 raised towards the $75 bonus content goal. You don't want to miss it. Everybody was texting us over the weekend saying, Austin, you and Stephanie were on Fail Army this weekend. I was like, Fail Army again? Oh, man, we're just so famous. Take a look.
Fail.
That would be a fail blog.
Fail Army.
There we go. Fail Army. Steffi broke my driver. I haven't gotten a driver since. I got to get a driver before the golf tournament. All right, guys. So get those Rumble rants in. Purchases made at forlibertyshop.com. Also help to unlock that bonus content. Help us to make more fun clips like that in Fail Army. We're building a whole network here around podcasts and social media content, and of course, purchases that you make at forlibertyshop.com. They call it grifting. We call it the Grift Shop. If you go to thegriftshop.com, that'll take you to forlibertyshop.com. The Alligator Alcatraz merch collection is very hot right now. Lots of people still love the Gulf of America merchandise as well. But as fall approaches, some of you are going to want some nice, delicious hot beverages. And a lot of people don't drink coffee, because I would highly recommend our Founding Flavors coffee. But if you're not a coffee drinker, some people enjoy tea. Well, guess what? We've got the For Liberty collection. Patriotic premium teas. If you scroll down on the front page of the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com, you'll find our Boston Harbor Black, our Colonial Chai, Peach Republic, Gray's Revolt, Mango Manifesto, Eagles Orchard, Jasmine Rising, and Heritage Hibiscus for Liberty. Get it at the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com. And remember, the purchases that you make during the live show go to help unlock that bonus content. All right, guys, it's time for us to go to break. We haven't unlocked it yet, so it's commercials for you. Too bad. We'll be right back with Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports on the Wake Up America show's For Liberty Network. We're not gonna take it. No, we're not gonna take it. Pour some sugar on me. Like Mexican Coca-Cola.
Legend has it, back in 1773, a band of angry, overtaxed patriots stormed a British ship, found the king's favorite tea, and said, "This would taste better without the tyranny." Then they tossed it overboard. Fast forward to today. That revolutionary spirit lives on in Boston Harbor Black, the boldest brew in the For Liberty tea lineup. It's dark, it's smooth, it's unapologetically American, just like the folks who drink it. Whether you're sweetening it up on the front porch or drinking it straight like a Minuteman before battle, this isn't tea for royalty, it's tea for rebels. No fake flavors, no corporate slogans, just a cold glass of Don't Tread on Me in liquid form. So skip the woke iced tea aisle and stock up on Boston Harbor Black at forlibertyshop.com. Because when the heat's rising, the least you can do is drink like a patriot.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a redcoat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with Founding Flavors. And trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at forlibertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. Well, you were here the whole time. We're so grateful to have you. If you haven't clicked the like button already, please do so. It's free and it helps support the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty, which is what we're all about here on the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. Introduce us to a friend. You know, podcasting full-time it's a tough business, but word of mouth is actually the most powerful form of advertising. If you introduce me to a friend and say, hey, check out Austin Peterson's Wake Up America show, then that's the best way to grow the show. It builds the most loyal audience. You know, some people come in, they want that viral craze, but those people, they come in, they come out, it's Haktua, and your career is over. We've been talking about the rise of Gen X, Trump's sugar dreams, and the Coldplay kiss heard around the world, but we've got to dig into the latest data of what might be a big red flag for Trump 2024. According to Rasmussen reports, Trump's approval ratings with independents and black voters, two groups that helped him close the gap in 2020 and 2024, are starting to slide. And it's not just a blip. Is this the Epstein backlash? Was it the tariffs, the Iran bombing, or just campaign fatigue? Joining us now to discuss what the numbers say and what they don't is Mark Mitchell, head pollster at Rasmussen Reports, and one of the most honest voices in data journalism. Follow him on X. Coincidentally, his name is @HonestPollster. Mark, welcome to the show.
To be here. Love the music.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, we try and get them bopping. This is like a show for people who actually have jobs, wake up early enough and want to get some news before the day starts. We make them laugh, and we also sometimes make them cry. So are Trump's people seeing the same numbers you are? Because you seem to be one of the only guys who's sort of calling out some differences in the polls. All the polls that I'm seeing from all the King's horses and all the King's men say all is fine, nothing to see here.
Yeah. It's weird. Like, one of the things that happens in the industry is that basically people will just cherry pick whatever number. And it's really wild. Like, people are bad at this job. I just looked a couple weeks ago, and the highest Trump approval at the time was us at +8, and Gallup was there with like a -17. So when you have two big names in the industry that are almost 30 points apart, you're going to get people picking things for their own narrative. And even like Trump kind of does it too, because he just said, oh, our numbers are doing great. I really think it affected his numbers. I really think it hurt him. Now his numbers are back up a little bit, but this isn't a blip. I think that this structurally changed some things, and it's a question about how much and how long it's going to last, and we just don't know yet.
When you work in the media business like I do, and I assume you understand this as well, there's a lot of noise and very little signals. So when I see somebody kind of going against the mainstream narratives, or when I see, or hear someone like yourself saying something different than what the mainstream or the herd is all saying, this is why I brought you on my show to talk about some of the findings that you're showing today, because I think that this could be the canary in the coal mine here when we talk about exactly who the demographics are that are departing Trump, at least according to Rasmussen reports. Approval ratings with independents and black voters, two groups that helped him close the gap. Right, they're not starting to slide. I mean, they've been sliding. Talk to us first about independence and what this might mean in regards to the midterms.
Well, in our polls, Trump won independents back in the fall, and that's a really big deal because those are politically homeless, normies who are just voting for the first time, people who are former Democrats and hate the party, just all kinds of folks like that, right? And Trump appealed to those people. And I think it wasn't all because people love Trump. A lot of it was because Biden was just absolutely freaking horrible and people didn't have a choice. And so these are people that didn't vote for Republicans before, a lot of them, and they gave Republicans a chance. They gave Trump a chance. And here's the thing, is Trump's numbers will recover, but I don't know about the Republicans. Trump built a big tent, but you look at the Republican Party, it's still pretty much the party of Mitt Romney and John McCain. So that's a terrible situation, and Trump's not going to be on the ballot again, right? So I'm watching independents, and he comes into this, after his inauguration, really well. He was record high right direction polling. We had a majority of people thinking that his second term was going to be the beginning of a golden era. His numbers with 18 to 39-year-olds was through the freaking roof, and he was +6 with independents. Well, I just checked right after the Epstein stuff back at the end of last week. He was underwater 19 points. That's horrifying. That's a 25-point drop. And will he get some of that back? Yeah, he already did. He's like underwater 14. But that's not where you want to be. You have to win those people. And Republicans definitely have to win those people. And what they should be worrying about is, like, Trump should have a 60% approval rating, and they should be trying to convert Trump voters with what they're doing. And they're not doing it, because this whole election, people want to say it was about the economy. It was about institutional trust, rule of law, justice, grievances, those kind of things. Deep down, that's super hard to poll on. But we have almost 95% of voters agreeing that it's important that we not have a two-tiered system of justice, and then we just let all these theoretical child predators go. And so that's the problem, is Trump is having wins, but you can't just, not everybody's a Trump sycophant out there. They're just not, and they're watching this stuff. And I think he's going to have a long leash, but Republicans are already underwater in the generic ballot. And I think they kind of need to win this one, right? I think this is probably a pretty big one in the fall.
No, certainly.
So
Certainly it is. Mark, you talked about two-tiered system of justice. And when you had discussed that on X, I thought it was interesting. You talked about that and potentially being one of the reasons, and again, this is just speculation, for why so many black voters were also deserting him. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Certainly. Now, as a caveat, people will look at the exit polling and say, oh, Rasmussen's black numbers look nothing like theirs. Well, exit polling is polling too, and pretty much everybody that's mainstream is horrible at polling. And I think my numbers are right. And it's been mind-blowing. I had Trump north of 50% some of these weeks in the last couple of months with black voters. That's incredible. That's game-changing. That would be the death of the Democrat Party. And he's in the 20s again. And I think that it happened over the last month or so. I think Epstein was a real reason. And the reason I say that is because we have a lot of polling about the stuff that they did weaponizing the judicial system against Trump. And the black voters there polled much more conservatively than they do on other things. And so I think this idea of like going after Trump, trying to prevent him from running by convicting him with a whole bunch of BS charges really stood out to them. And I look at this Epstein thing, and to me, that's the parallel. We'll never know, and we'll see what happens with their numbers. But he could have just lost a ton of black voters, and that would be horrifying.
Talk to us a little bit about the Trump's DOJ appointees claiming there's no Epstein client list. Do you think that this is kind of the moment MAGA voters start to question if justice will ever really come to the elites? Because it used to be a common saying that Trump could assassinate someone in Fifth Avenue and no one would care. It seems as though a lot of typical MAGA people really do care, even though Trump is telling them not to care.
Yeah, I mean, like he's so good at brute forcing, like having a vision and just like messaging it and getting his way. He really is. But I don't think it's going to work on this one. And you used the phrase canary in the coal mine. I think that really is what it's about. Because remember, this is the Biden administration where people thought the FBI was his personal Gestapo, where they thought the DOJ turned into a banana republic, where, all the small businesses were cracked down. They tried to shove an experimental vaccine down people's throats. That stuff's not going away. And then just because you get new people at the head of these institutions doesn't mean all of a sudden people are going to respect the FBI or think that the CIA didn't kill Kennedy or any of that stuff. And so that's what he's up against. And the problem is it's not just Epstein. There's a massive, massive laundry list of things that Americans need closure on, like the vaccines. There's probably a list of 20 like primary things. And the Epstein is a very salient one where Trump could have come in on day one and said, you know what? It is kind of creepy that all these billionaires were down there and we haven't even interviewed any of them. Let's just do that. Let's have an investigation. But we polled on this specifically, and Senate, the White House saw these numbers. And I don't know, it was before he blew up and said everybody was weak and he didn't want them. So I don't know what's happening there. But hopefully they're getting a tap on the shoulder down there because people are not believing. We asked like two very specific questions. Do you believe the FBI and DOJ are telling the truth about Epstein's client list not existing? Only 21% believe that. Only 21%. And only 27% of Republicans, only 15% independents. That's a problem. Only 22% of black voters. So ostensibly, if black voters thought that Trump was on the Epstein, they're not going to believe this, right? Which is closer to your opinion? The Epstein case is now closed. There are dozens of powerful and wealthy offenders who need to face justice. Case closed, 16%. Wealthy offenders who need to face justice, 68%. So will he be able to brute force this? Maybe, but at what political cost? Like just you can't just say, trust me, bro. I've been saying this on every show. This is based on everything that people have seen for the last decade about this guy. You can't make it go away.
If there was ever any doubt,
you have to have more evidence.
Yeah, if there was ever any doubt that the common man is out for CEO blood, just take a look at what they're doing to the CEO who cheated at the Coldplay concert. People want rich and powerful elites punished.
Yeah, that's right. I should poll on that. We got to talk about that guy.
There you go. Man. Just say you got it from Wake Up America show. Speaking to Mark Mitchell this morning here on the Wake Up America show, by the way, he's from Rasmussen Reports. You can follow him over on X at Honest Pollster. It looks like my audience already are big fans of yours, though. They probably follow you already. People like L Dubs and Y2 Joe and many others. chatting about how much they really appreciate Mark Mitchell over at Rasmussen, and we're grateful that he's being so generous with his time. Another topic related for you, how much is foreign policy bleeding in? You know, Trump's strike on Iran was popular with the hawks, but it may have alienated some of the libertarian-leaning or more anti-war voters. Is that showing up in your crosstabs?
Yeah, part of the problem is that like so much is happening that attribution is the thing. And I can say that there was definitely a red line with boots on the ground. We had less than a third who actually wanted to have troops go over and support Israel. So that was very clear. And I think it was roughly about half, I think 48, 49% who thought, yeah, okay, cool, let's bomb them with our Navy jets and stuff like that. But the strike to take out the nuclear programs was almost a 60% number before and after. And then the idea of Iranians not having a nuke is also very popular. That was in the 80s. So I would look at those numbers and say, you know what, based on everything that happened here, Trump probably should have gotten a pickup, and he didn't. This was in the period where his numbers were starting to drop. And all I can surmise out of that is that Trump is a chaotic leader. He will change his direction based on information. I know he was getting a lot of conflicting information probably, and it looked chaotic. And I think that that's probably what happened here. A lot of people were super concerned that maybe he would make the wrong decision, and he didn't in retrospect, in my opinion. But it's hard to come out of that and look back and say, wow, you know, Trump did a great job. It was like, no, Israel attacked the neighboring country. A whole lot of bombs got exchanged. People were talking about us supporting them monetarily. There were questions about our implied backstop for Israeli invasion of Iran. Like, those are things where people are kind of concerned and confused. And so Trump's strength is certainly domestic policy. He needs to rebuild the American middle class. I'm happy that we're refocused on that.
Yeah,
and I'm glad
that was going to be my next
done.
man. You're perfectly segueing this for me, Mark, because my next question here is, you know, despite the dips, you know, where is Trump still strong? Are there any unexpected demos where he may be outperforming?
What I can tell you is that right now he's +2 in approval rating, which is exactly where he was in the fall. So he really hasn't, you know, it's not exactly oranges, apples to apples, but he hasn't lost or picked up anybody really. He's doing well with Republicans. He's not doing as well with independents. But what is happening is on some of the issues, his numbers are slipping a little bit. We're in the field now with questions about his economic numbers, and we'll see how those will come back. I can say economic confidence, our index in June had the highest print in 4 years. So that's good news, but it doesn't necessarily mean that people will credit Trump for that stuff as well. And he had, I think back in the fall, pretty close to a 50% excellent plus good rating on the economy. That's been going down. I mean, it's still north of 40. It's still better than Joe Biden polled on like any issue. But this is a problem. It's that Trump promised massive accountability, restructuring of our government. And I don't know if America's made up its mind on that yet, but the window is closing for these midterm elections, which again, I will say the Democrats are +2 right now in the generic ballot, according to Rich Barris. We're going to have our poll out this week on that as well. You know, historically, Democrats pick up seats. That means historically Democrats are going to get control of the Congress. That means Trump's legislative agenda is going to grind to a halt. What little there has been already, and Republicans probably will laugh behind their, beers about it at Trump because they want to lose. I mean, that's probably what's going to happen. And then, God forbid, the Democrats get control of the Senate. We're going to have impeachment hearings. We're going to have investigate. They're going to run on an Epstein, and they're going to put an Epstein commission together the very first day they get into power. That's kind of our future. Now, like, two things can be true at the same time. The Democrat national leadership issue is an absolute joke right now. Like, they are literally clown car. But that doesn't mean that they can't get 46, 47% of the electorate to turn out. It doesn't mean that their midterm electorate is going to be inflamed because Trump's in office, and the Republican one isn't because Trump's a big tent of low propensity voters right now. So this is a dangerous situation. As far as I know, Republicans have no plan whatsoever to fix that. And obviously Trump might. He's going to stump real hard. He's probably got other tricks up his sleeve. What are John Thune and Mike Johnson doing right now? Maybe there's stuff going on behind the scenes, but from what I'm hearing, not a hell of a lot. They're all talking with their big business backers about how great it would be to have amnesty. That's what they're talking about.
Well, I mean, I'm more on the liberty side of things, so I mean, it doesn't freak me out. I'm a little more Reagan-esque on those things, but I know where the Republican Party is right now, and to them, that's like throwing acid in their faces. So
yeah, it's not a good thing.
It's definitely not a good thing for the Republican base. For me, it's
that gets to the two-tiered standard of justice, though. Like, here's the problem, right? And everybody frames it. Oh, look at these horrible illegal aliens that are on government, backing, and all this stuff. And they get the hotels and all of this again, like grievance stuff, which is
Karen
a fertile
Bass
field for sure.
Him out. Gavin Newsom wants to hand him cash.
Yeah.
Yes, I get it.
But you don't see anybody in the administration calling out business owners who run businesses on illegal labor. You just don't.
True. They don't, because they honestly probably get a lot of donations and money from a lot of those corporations that hire them, because as much as it's not a popular talking point, it really is hard to get young Americans of certain demographics to show up for those kinds of jobs. You give them a college education and then say, go work at one of the big things that they said recently is all the Zoomers were mad because liberals and libertarians were saying things like, go work there's jobs available at Panda Express and Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
But the younger generation thinks that they're too good to work at Buc-ee's or Panda Express. So it is a bit of a cultural challenge.
The market will set the price, right? If Buc-ee's can only be run with illegal labor, then probably they shouldn't be in business, right? Or they need to change their business model. And if avocados are really that hard to pick, maybe they should be $5 instead of $4. I'm just saying, right?
No. All right. That's it, Mark Mitchell.
Yeah.
You had us and you lost us. This is the libertarian audience here.
Oh, no.
And we are avocado toast eaters over on this one. You'll find we're the avocado toast wing of the Republican Party. But last question for you. If you were advising Trump's team, where would you tell them to double down and where do they need to tread lightly?
They need a plan. And again, maybe they have one, but they need a plan for 26. And this is my wild one. I would say John Thune and Mike Johnson need to ignore all of the screaming, wailing business owners and military industrial complex lobbyists and blah, 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 blah. They need to get rid of the nuclear, use the nuclear option, get rid of the 60-vote filibuster in the Senate. I know that makes everybody in Washington, D.C. clutch pearls, but Americans are fed up with Washington, D.C. They want a massive change. They wanted the government shut down. They know how D.C. operates, and they're not getting what they want. Get rid of that filibuster rule and then pass a popular one-page bill every day until November 2026. Every day. I will pull on new ones for you. We'll test them all, right? But election integrity, bipartisan voter audits, paper ballots, voter ID, like these are great places to start. Get rid of the machines. Maybe mandate e-verify. You probably don't like that one. But I'm just saying these things are overwhelmingly positive. And that's one way. And then the other way is, okay, you have $11 billion investigative arm of the federal government. What are you doing with it right now? First off, have you fired anybody? Have you fired anybody in the CIA and listen, I know everybody that helped potentially allegedly kill Kennedy is dead. That doesn't mean it's not the same CIA. Like, who's been fired? What accountability has come to these agencies? Give us a weekly accountability report and a weekly report of every new investigation that you've opened. Like, why not? We're paying $11 billion. What are we getting out of the FBI? We see what we're getting out of ICE. What are we getting out of the FBI?
Oh, God. Yeah. You know what? We're getting a lot of pain. A lot of watching Dan Bongino and Kash Patel say Epstein killed himself, and quite frankly, it's not been hitting home, Mark.
No, if it's true, then give us a report. If it's true, then you provide something more than, oh, here's a video that is just going to heighten the conflict, right?
Yeah, just give us a video that doesn't have a minute edited out of it. Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports. Exactly. Hey, Mark, you got a lot of big fans in the audience. Where should they follow you or find out more about your work? Where should they go?
Rasmussen_Poll on YouTube is the best place. We stream a couple times a week. Probably going to stream tonight and Wednesday. Summer schedule, 9 p.m. Eastern. Be there.
Mark Mitchell, Rasmussen Reports. You can follow him on X personally at Honest Pollster, and he is an honest pollster, and that's why we love having him on the show. We'll have to have you back. Thanks so much, Mark. We appreciate you very much.
Great to be here. Anytime. Just say when.
Have a wonderful day.
This is one of the most successful All-Star weekends we have ever seen in this league, and we know what we're talking about. We've all been covering it for nearly 2 decades, but something important happened from before the game. As you know, the collective bargaining agreement is under discussion right now between the league and their players. And before the game, the players came out without their warm-ups on with shirts that said, "Pay us what you owe us." There is a feeling among the players, as they expressed in their meeting on Thursday, that they want to have a piece of the revenue. It has been record-sharing revenue for the WNBA, and they have not been sharing that with the players. Over 40 players showed up to that face-to-face meeting, the first to negotiate the CBA. The players said there were so many of them that they had to get more chairs for the room. The thing we know about this league, the players remain united in asking for what Nafisa...
Pay us what you owe us. Is that really what you want, ladies? I don't think it is. I don't think that you guys want to get paid what you owe. I saw a great Babylon Bee meme that said in order to pay the ladies what they owe, they now owe the league $300 million. Mark was great first-class scout. Look who's busting their ass in the middle of summer, right when in the middle of the birthday week of his first daughter on her first birthday. It's your boy AP. Look at me. We didn't unlock the bonus content today. That means it's deleted forever. You'll never get to see it. Sorry, guys. We only raised $20 towards a $75 goal. It makes me wonder, will the Wake Up America show even be on next month? If you want to guarantee that it will, keep unlocking that bonus content in the future. We don't want to have too many losses like that because that's dangerous for the Wake Up America show and the whole For Liberty network. So make sure that you guys are supporting us by visiting the Grift Shop as you exit through the Grift Shop. Buy yourself a nice little t-shirt or maybe a box of coffee if you haven't stocked up in a while. Here's what you should do. If you go to forlibertyshop.com, you ought to sign up for a monthly delivery of our delicious coffee or our delicious teas at forlibertyshop.com. You can make up for it, baby. You can make me feel a little bit better. Get a little birthday present for Hazel Rose. Head on over to forlibertyshop.com. That's the Grift Shop. At thegriftshop.com. We'll see you guys right back again here tomorrow, maybe, on the Wake Up America show's For Liberty Network. Bye, guys.
Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have Drag Queen Story Hour for toddlers. Pronouns are mandatory. And Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. You know, just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop forlibertyshop.com.